Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Dewey Huang. This is Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer of the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And it looks like you made a comment over at my website on Saturday, June 23rd. So let's take a look at what you said here, and then I'll try to give you some information to help you. So you say, my name is Huang, and I'm Vietnamese. Last week I took a TOEFL test. I only got 89. Interesting, only. A lot of students would be really happy to get 89. First of all, that's a great score. Don't let that score. But I know what you're thinking. You're probably have goals of getting over 100. So for 89 for you is not that good, but still, that is a very solid score there. There is nothing to be ashamed of with 89. Of course you want to get higher, and I can help you get higher, but congratulations so far on developing some really strong English proficiency skills. All right, on the reading section you got 23 points. On the listening you got 22. On the speaking you got 17. On the writing you got 27. My goodness. So really good on the writing area. So your speaking, not so much. So you say, I do not think that the speaking section is my problem since I've talked with native speakers many times, and I think that I can fully express my ideas when I talk to them. However, the report says I have difficulties in grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. I believe that this happens because I do not usually use the microphone to speak. Last time I recorded my speaking task and it was terrible. Do you think I can improve my score in 1 month? Yes. But what is the goal? How high do you want to go? I mean, do you want to get 26 out of 30 in the speaking in 1 month? Probably not. You're probably looking at about a 3-month period before we can get you where you need to be. And I'll tell you why. First of all, your first language is Vietnamese. And Vietnamese is very different from English, especially in its pronunciation. So I teach at Cal State University in San Bernardino, and I've been teaching there since 1994. And there's 2 languages that typically give students the most trouble with their speaking, and one is Thai, and number 2 is Vietnamese. Now there are other languages which are also that make it difficult for non-native speakers learning English, for example Japanese or Chinese or Arabic or French or German, but I don't think there's any language that I have encountered that gives its speakers more trouble learning English than probably Vietnamese or Thai. So you have to kind of deal with that. So your first language is very different from English, and the pronunciation patterns are very different, right? So the next thing is it's not just fully expressing your ideas to your native speakers. I mean, can they understand you? I mean, when you're talking to them, do they ask you to repeat yourself several times before they understand what you're saying, or do they get it the first time? So let's take a look at what your score means. So I would be a little bit worried with your speaking, and I'll tell you why. Is your other areas, your reading, listening, and your writing are really high, and particularly your writing section is extremely high, but your speaking is at intermediate at best. Now, once you have a gap between your speaking and all the other proficiencies of English, it's going to be really tough for you to improve in that area, and you're even admitting that you don't think speaking is your problem. But clearly, speaking is a problem for you, or you would not have scored as low as you did. So first of all, you have to come to terms with the fact that you need to make improvements with your speaking. Now, if you can accept that, then you're willing to do the practice that it's going to take to make those improvements. However, if you think your speaking is fine and you do not believe there is any room for improvement, it's probably best that you don't take any online TOEFL course, because no matter what I do or anybody else does, you don't believe that you need to improve. But the main thing is if you want to get better, you have to start recording speaking practice tests online for me, so I can listen to them. And I have over 50 different practice tests in my 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And I'll be honest with you, remember that we never meet face to face. I just listen to your audio files and I will comment on them based on what I hear. If you have grammar problems, I will tell you. If you have vocabulary problems, I will let you know. If you're having problems with your pronunciation, I will also let you know. And remember, Dewey, is I also have a pronunciation section of my online course to help you deal with those intelligibility issues that you're having. All right, so let's take a look at the explanation of your score. So you scored 17 points, which means about 2.0 out of 4. Actually, 15 points out of 30 would be 2.0. So you're right around 2.16 out of 4. That means you got a lot of trouble. And I'm guessing that a lot of your problems are in your delivery. So here's what the TOEFL is saying about your pronunciation right now. It's saying, although your speech is basically understandable, listener effort is needed because of unclear articulation, awkward intonation, or choppy, fragmented, telegraphic, and frequent pauses and hesitations. Now, as you said in the message that you made over at my website, that it might be because you're not used to using a microphone. Now, and that could be true, because sometimes students, when they're talking into a microphone, they get a little nervous and they stop and they start and they do all these unnecessary pauses. Yeah, it can kill your score. But my question is, why did you not do any recordings before you took the TOEFL? I mean, most people, if you're doing the TOEFL test, you record your voice a lot. In fact, a lot of my students, they'll do at least 50 to 60 different recordings of their speech online before they take the TOEFL test. So they're already used to using a mic long before they show up to take the TOEFL IBT, right? So obviously, you have to get used to using a microphone. This is very, very important. In your language use, here's what the TOEFL is saying to you about your language use based on your score. They're saying that you have a limited range and control of your grammar and vocabulary, and these limitations prevent you from fully expressing your ideas. Now, I'm guessing that they're saying that you have probably at least 2 problems in either delivery, language use, or topic development. Now, based on your writing score, 27 points, I'm assuming that you have very good control of your grammar and your vocabulary in your writing. So it stands to reason that you probably have pretty good control of your grammar and your vocabulary when you're speaking. So I'm guessing that your problem is more of a delivery issue, more of a pronunciation problem than it is a language use problem, at least based on your writing score. Now, I could be wrong, and I don't know until I really listen to several of your speaking practice tests at my course. And at that point, I can become more familiar with exactly what your problems are, and I can tell you what lessons you can focus on to get better. Now, in terms of your topic development, here's what the TOEFL is saying to you about that. It's saying that you discuss mostly limited ideas. You're expressing basic ideas with limited details and support. You communicate your ideas very unclearly and repetitiously. Connections of ideas are unclear in parts of your response. Now, this could be a problem because sometimes students, when they're answering the independent speaking tasks, some students have a tendency to be a little bit general and vague, which means unclear. So they're not really giving any specific details to support those generalizations, and of course, they don't get a good score. All right, so that's kind of what the TOEFL is saying. So, I mean, you got to believe it, though. You have to believe, I think, before you get better, you have to recognize that you need improvement. Do you believe it? I think that you said last time I recorded my speaking task, it was terrible. So, okay, let's get back to your question. So, can you improve your score in a month? I had a student who improved his score 6 points on the speaking section, but it took him 6 weeks. His original score was 20, and when he took the test 6 weeks later after using my course, his score was 26. So he went from 20 to 26. Now, another student, on the other hand, her score was 21, and it took her 3 months to get to 26 using my course. So both of my examples, I think, indicate that you can improve your score in 1 month, of course, but the question is, how high can you improve your score? That's not real. You didn't really ask me that specific question. So let's just look at the benchmark of 26, right? A lot of people like to get higher than 26 on the speaking. So to answer your question, can you go from 17 to 26 in 30 days? I'm going to say probably not, at least based on my observations of having worked with this year. I don't know, I probably already had a couple of thousand students go through my online course this year already, and I don't see anybody making the kinds of improvements. 9 or 10 points in one section of the test in 30 days is a lot. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. I mean, maybe you joined my course for one reason, to prove me wrong, and that's great. If you think you can prove me wrong, dude, do it. I'll be more than interested to see what you can do, and I'll push you as much as I can. So in conclusion, let's take a look at the last part of the comments that you made. I'm going to run out of time here. Wow. It says, can you show me how to improve my reading and my listening skills too? With reading, and I got about 3 minutes here, so I got to kind of wrap this up. With the reading area, you got to do 4 basic things. Number 1, you have to read extensively for several months, for about 45 minutes a day. You want to read newspapers, magazines, and longer books of an adult nature. For example, don't read children's novels and things like that. Don't even read things geared to teenagers. Read materials geared for adults, especially college-educated adults. So if you want to pick a newspaper, pick the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, something like that. That's written toward a fairly educated audience. Number 2, you have to improve your vocabulary, and you already know that from the speaking. You also need to be familiar with the TOEFL IBT reading question types and the strategies for answering those questions. That's also really important. And the last thing is you need to increase your speed reading. You definitely want to increase your speed reading to above 300 words a minute. And not only does that allow you to read more books in a shorter period of time, which is good to be sure, but it allows you to actually concentrate and comprehend better with what you read, because faster readers have fewer distractions than slower readers, and you will be able to navigate through the TOEFL reading section much faster. All right, so in conclusion, I got about 90 seconds here. So in talking about the listening section, obviously you have to practice listening to academic type materials regularly. You want to listen to those materials. You want to take down notes. Excuse me. You want to take down notes, and using your notes, you want to answer questions about those lectures. So that's very important. You want to watch TV, and particularly watch Discovery, scientific or history-oriented type channels, or watch news type channels. Again, you want to get that educated type English. You want to get used to listening to that. And so my website has many practice tests in the speaking, the reading, and the listening areas. I can help you. I mean, I can coach you, and that's really what I do. And a lot of students need extra help in the speaking and the writing areas. Of course, you don't need any help with the writing, but you have a very big problem with the speaking, and that's exactly where I'm going to help you when you join my course. All right. Anyway, thank you for your comments at my website. I hope I've given you some information, and I have to be honest here. If you ask me questions, I will be honest with you. Anyway, thank you, and all the best to your high-scoring TOEFL success.